And hello and welcome everybody to the Final Yard on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your permanent host, Louis Sung, and joining me for this is Hussam Patel, who I can already tell is very disappointed after the Miami Dolphins lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars 23-20 in the final seconds of the game. So I'm just going to, before I let Hussam go ahead and talk, I'm just going to go ahead and say once again, big thanks to our sponsors, ThriveFantasy. All you have to do is focus on the top tier athletes, choose the top 10 of the available 20 to build your lineup. All you got to do is just go on to ThriveFantasy.com. All you have to do is put in, they will match up to $100 on your deposit. The worst thing that can happen mostly is that you get your money back. The best thing that can happen is that you win big. Don't waste any time. Go to ThriveFantasy.com to get started. That is once again ThriveFantasy.com. All right, so Dolphins lost in the final seconds with a field goal attempt. And the funniest thing of all is the way that they played that. If Brandon Jones had let the guy just sit there on the ground, they would not have had time to call that timeout. But he was downed so quickly that they had the time to call that timeout with 1 second left and found a way to lose the game. And my bet with Jakari, let's see if Jakari even shows up. I knew that's why I made that bet that if they somehow went 4-4, I would never show up on this show again. But guess what? I already won 1 weekend and I already won the bet. This team, man, this team. Go ahead, Hussam. I can see the pain in your eyes.
Game on the line and you hand it to Malcolm Brown to get 1 yard?
I mean, that's normally when you would put your running back in. That's supposedly a power back, right? 4th and 1, 4th and inches. That's your job, isn't it, as a running back? So the play call honestly doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. It's the execution yet again.
It does to me because he doesn't get that much yardage. You could have ran a quarterback option for Tua and he would have punched it in. Quarterback sneak with Jacoby Brissett. Come on, man.
That didn't work last time either. It's like, honestly, I understand the play call. 4th and 1, your power back's in. He did get a couple yards once before earlier this game. So the play call doesn't bother me so much. I would expect your running back to come in and get 1 yard. That's something that teams are supposed to be able to do. Any other team could do it, just not Miami. And that's kind of the reality that we have to face here, folks, is that the reality of the situation is that the Miami Dolphins can't do anything right. Even when they get everything in their favor, even when they manage to get some decent play out of their quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, who, by the way, probably one of the only bright spots of the game. Mike Gesicki and Tua have a rapport. He has a rapport with Mac Hollins. He has a rapport with Jalen Waddle. So the offense was able to function to some extent, just not when it counted. Again. So now we're joined by Jacob Michelle, otherwise known as Finn's Dynasty on Instagram. You can go ahead and follow him out there. So Jacob, what are you thinking, man?
I really have no thoughts right now. That's probably the poorest game I've ever watched in the past decade. I'm even saying that from the Adam Gase era. I was just impossible to watch, and I just have no words.
It's hard to come up with words, isn't it? And this is where we have to start talking about it, guys. We have to start talking about this. Folks have to get fired.
It's bigger than Tua. A lot of people are blaming Tua over that bad pick.
No, I'm not blaming Tua, not at all.
That was a horrible throw, but
that was one throw, though.
Bigger problems than him.
He was not the reason he lost. But you know what? At the same time, there was a few not even counting the interception. There was a few decisions that I looked at him like, why did you do that just now? Like, for instance, when he threw the ball away, basically, he was throwing to somebody, but he had the yards he needed to get on that 3rd and 2. He could have run for it, and he didn't. And then later on in the game, he realized, oh, you know what? Maybe I actually have to do it myself. So, and by the way, this Miami Dolphins defense, I don't care that Xavier Howard and Byron Jones were out. You know why I don't care? Because the Jacksonville Jaguars have not been able to function all season long. There's a reason they're 0-5. There's a reason they struggle in every single game. There's a reason that they haven't been able to look like a competent football team, except for today. Because they face the Dolphins. And this just goes to show now, there's no more denying it. The Miami Dolphins are not a competent football team. And I don't know what happened, that all the excitement, all the promise that was shown over the past 2 seasons, it all just up in smoke. I don't know why that is. I don't know what's changed. I don't know what the mentality is for the coaching staff, that all of a sudden everything is not okay. But somebody needs to be held accountable for this. Somebody needs to be held accountable for this.
You know what would be great, Lewis? If we could just fire the 2 offensive coordinators, because this inconsistencies in play calling is enough for me to say, okay, this offense 6 weeks in already needs to change. Yes, I mean, Tua Tagovailoa looks good when he's forced to throw in a hurry-up offense, in a timing-based offense. He looks great.
He looks good when he lets the game come to him, and he doesn't try to force something like his predecessor. When he is just taking what the defense gives him, which is plenty. The defense, whenever he was throwing it to Gaskin, he was wide open. Boom, got it there. Waddle was right there. Boom, got it there. As soon as he starts throwing it into double coverage, as soon as he starts taking off and trying to make a play, even when he doesn't have to, again, he was 3rd and 2. He had more than 2 yards ahead of him. He could have run with it. And then he just tried to do something he didn't need to. He was trying to do something that he didn't need to do. He's at his best when he just finds where the defense is at its weak spot. As soon as he starts trying to improvise and force something that's not really there, that's when things start to go wrong. Because the only kind of quarterbacks who can make those kinds of plays are the gunslingers who get the ball in there so fast that the defense doesn't have time to react to it, really. That's why you had Justin Herbert, doing amazing things. He can improvise. Patrick Mahomes can improvise. Guys like Tua, who do not have elite arm strength, cannot do that kind of improvisation. He is supposed to be surgical. He is supposed to pick apart defenses. He is not supposed to ramrod a defense. That's the difference. And now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the defense here, because once again, the defense did not come to play. It failed when the moment counted. It failed when the moment counted, because this defense is supposed to be the Brian Flores staple. It's supposed to be what Brian Flores is good at. It's supposed to be his specialty. And for the past, and this entire season, the defense has been terrible. And you want to know why I think it's terrible? I think it's specifically because we dumped all the veterans. I think it's because you dumped all the veterans. You got rid of Kyle Van Noy. You got rid of all these players who are well known for doing what they're doing. You got rid of Benardrick McKinney. You got rid of these players who you know are solid, functioning guys, and you brought in a bunch of young bucks who, I get it, there's potential, but they don't have the game down. Kyle Van Noy, for all his shortcomings, at least had the mental aspect of the football game handled. That was not something we need to worry about with him. And now you try to replace that with Jason McCourty, I guess. But McCourty is not in the middle of the field. He's all the way back here doing whatever he's doing at safety. So that's fine and all. And by the way, did McCourty even play that much? I saw mostly Javon Holland today. So you would think that with the way that the defense is right now, the fact that we don't have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, you would think you would get your veteran cornerback, Jason McCourty, who was really good with New England, and you would put him out there on the boundary where he normally plays at. No, Justin Coleman. Nick Needham, I don't mind so much, but you throw Justin Coleman out there. And oh, by the way, you threw Noah Igbenogany out there, who, by the way, he's been inactive all season. And once again, he showed why he's been inactive all season.
Whatever happened to Trill Williams? What happened to Nick Needham on the boundary? You had Justin Coleman in the slot.
Yeah, that was the thing. You brought Justin Coleman as a slot corner. That was what he was good at. So, again, now you decide to flip-flop all that and say, nah, we'll put Needham in the slot here and we'll put Coleman on the outside. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Play the players where they're at their best. I don't want to hear any more about this matchup stuff. I don't want to hear any more about analytics where it's like, oh, this guy's height is like this and this guy's weight is like this, so we'll pair this guy against this guy because they're similar players. I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of it.
It's Lewis. We've been saying this for the last 5 weeks. It's literally personnel management. They are not playing the best players where they need to be, and they're not putting them in positions to succeed. Unlike last season, if you take a look at Holland, you put him in the slot, you put Eric Rowe back into that strong safety role. You have McCourty back there being the free safety. You have veterans controlling the deep parts of the field. You have Holland, who's pretty good in man coverage, who can line up with pretty much everyone, especially in the slot. You take Justin Coleman out. He's a great tackler. He can play the ball as well. You put him in the slot. You have Nick Needham and a Terrell Williams, Justin Coleman, whatever you want to call it, on the other side. Literally, you can play them in the secondary and you will be fine. You will literally be fine. The only positive I can literally take away from this game is that Tua, he looked decent coming back.
Tua makes the offense.
And I don't even remember if he even got sacked. Did he get sacked at all?
I think he got sacked once. I would have to double check that, but I'll go ahead and pull up those stats. But in the meantime, go ahead. Keep talking.
I have no words for this coaching staff.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm usually a very contrarian on Tua most of the time. And this loss was not on Tua. You put any quarterback behind that line, behind that offense, and there's literally no like positives whatsoever. And I'm trying to think of positives. Like you put Herbert behind that line, that offense. You put any quarterback, it's just there's no offense at all, and it's quite frightening to me.
So actually, Tua did not get sacked all day. He went 33 of 47 for 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Trevor Lawrence, on the flip side, went 25 of 41 for 319 and 1 touchdown. So between the two quarterbacks, technically speaking, if you want to go by QB rating, Tua actually had the better
QBR
game.
Doesn't matter, Lewis.
I know it doesn't.
QBR doesn't matter.
I know that, and I'm one of those guys who always talk about that. But I'm just giving the numbers as they are. Tua made the offense function, and he made it function a hell of a lot more than Jacoby Brissett would have. He really, really did. And I've just kind of reached the point where, again, like I'm just trying to find that is the positive, I guess. That is the positive, is that Tua Tagovailoa really did look pretty good in this game, except for the couple of questionable decisions that he made. And even then, I don't think it was the decision so much as it was just the execution, because I think he knew where he wanted to throw the football. He just didn't get it there. And that's where everybody starts talking about his arm strength again. I just feel like that if you want Tua at his best, you basically have to turn him again into Drew Brees. You have to be methodical. And when I say methodical, I don't mean like you just like throw little 5-yard flat routes and little dump offs here and there. That's not what I mean by methodical. I don't want to hear whatever Flores had to say about being methodical from the past 3 weeks. When I say methodical, I'm talking about taking what the defense gives you, and if that means that they give you a bigger play, you go for that bigger play. You don't force it. And for the most part, Tua did not force it. Those times that he did force it is when things didn't look good. When he was keeping things in control. He was keeping things calm, cool, and collected. Things looked pretty decent. So that is the one plus that I can take it. I still think Tua has a good shot at being a good quarterback in this league, but this coaching staff is doing him something dirty, I swear. So now I'm going to go ahead and welcome Royal into the post-game show. He's from the Extra Yard, so go ahead and talk to me, Royal. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, leave all they bitch asses in London, bro. Like, that's what's going to happen, bro. You got to leave them there, because that was one of the worst displays of football that I had seen in a very long time from any football team. Everybody knows I'm a Green Bay fan, but it was a culmination of things that lost that game for Miami, particularly when it came time to the coaching. Like the coaching decisions, I don't know how deep you guys got into the two challenges that Flores had in the span of 3 plays. The first one, it was cool. The second one, you had a very slim chance of winning that one. So I don't know why you do that, risk the timeouts. And Michael made this point to us while we were watching the game together. It robbed Miami of the opportunity to call timeouts in that last possession that the Jaguars had. When they were pushing them back, they could have used those timeouts to stop the clock, end up forcing them to punt the ball, and then you have an opportunity to drive down the field. I know for a fact that you guys have probably already discussed the 4th and 1 call where you give the ball to Malcolm Brown when Tua's having so much success in this game. If anybody blames Tua Tagovailoa for this loss, then I don't know what's wrong with them. I think they're probably brain dead because Tua played maybe not he didn't play elite football, but he was very, very good in this game. He was very, very good aside from
just a second start, Royal. Second start coming off a rib injury. Come on.
He was a positive. The offense looked like it was moving, like the offense was moving. Like you got something that you hadn't seen all year with Jacoby Brissett. And you chose to you put your season. This is their season on the line. And you put your season in the hands of Malcolm Brown. That is disgusting. And I don't think that anybody on that coaching staff deserves to be here at the end of the year.
I don't want to blame the play call. I don't, because on 4th and 1, you would expect your power back to be able to get 1 yard. That's literally their job, get 1 yard. So I don't mind the play call so much. Now, would I have preferred a pass? Yes, but I don't think the play call in and of itself is the problem. It's more about the execution. Any other team on 4th and 1, and they managed to get that yard.
Yeah, but Lewis, they aren't running the ball successfully anyway.
I know that.
Throughout the course of the game, you're not running the ball successfully. And then on top, like I said, bro, Brian Flores is coaching for his job. Tua is playing for his job. You live and die with the results of putting the ball in the hands of your best player on offense in this game. And Tua was that. So you give him that chance. You don't put the ball in the hands of Malcolm Brown because that has not worked the entire season. So the play call in any other circumstance is fine. But when you have this certain set of circumstances, you throw that ball with Tua Tagovailoa and you live and die with those results.
And Royal, to your point, Urban Meyer trusted Trevor Lawrence on that 4th and 8 play call to deliver it, or 3rd and 8 play call. I'm sorry, whatever it was. He delivered it. He put the ball in his best player's hands. And let me read you off this stat line for Tua Tagovailoa. First quarter, 11 for 13, 116 yards and a touchdown. Second quarter, 8 for 16, 71 yards and a touchdown. Third quarter, 4 for 6 for 25 yards. Fourth quarter, 10 for 12 for 117 yards and a touchdown. Why would you not put the ball in Tua's hands and make him deliver? If you want to see if he can be that guy, you give him that opportunity, not play it safe.
I think that encapsulated it perfectly, bro. If you want to see if Tua is the guy, you let him throw that ball. A part of me believes that the Dolphins don't want to see if Tua is that guy. And I don't want to put any claims on the organization like that, but that's just the feeling that you get from watching this. Like, you are not giving this man an opportunity to be everything that he can be.
That's been the case for a long time. Like, it's the same situation we complained about it for literally 7 years with Ryan Tannehill. Why aren't they giving him the things he needs to succeed? Why are they doing him dirty all this time? And now with an even more talented quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, they're doing the same thing all over again. They're not giving him any running game. They're not giving him any decent blocking. The coaching is suspect. And I wanted so badly for Brian Flores to be the guy, but it looks like he's just continuing the curse of Bill Belichick proteges. They are not getting the job done. They can't do it. So, and I've just
so passive.
Don't forget that the receivers aren't doing him any justice either.
Well, the receivers are made of glass.
Receivers were good today. The running backs couldn't catch worth a crap.
I'm talking about the ones that are injured. Devontae Parker, injured.
Parker's not hurt.
Yeah, but sure, even without those guys, bro, like the receiving quarter they played out there, they played well enough to win.
They stepped up. I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just.
Mac
Hollins played well. No, he's not. But Mac Hollins played well today.
You could literally throw a flat. You can throw into the flats for Gaskin, and he'd be able to get that first down. You can run it in with Tua, he'd be able to get that first down.
You got life out of Gaskin today.
Because Tua likes throwing to Gaskin.
Right,
even a sweep to Waddle for a first down on a 4th and 1. Come on, people.
I don't know if I haven't seen them run that all year, like a jet sweep to Waddle. I mean, I might have missed it, but I don't think that's something that they want to do. They like him as a receiver, and
it's getting to the fact where some of these are like no brainers, and the coaching staff is just not hitting on it, and that's a problem. And I think that just needs to be fixed with firing. That's all I'm gonna say. Really.
Give me the headset. Give me the headset. Give me the headset. I will call plays better.
No, for real. When you've reached the point where every single fan knows what's wrong and the coaching staff still ignores it, that's where it just becomes like, I don't understand. I don't know what mindset they have. Like, if they know that they're coaching for their jobs, why are they doing it like this? Why are they? Because is it really because they're scared? If they're scared, then they need to be fired anyway.
Well, you think about it. Think about how Flores has coached throughout his tenure with the Dolphins. Those first 2 years, he was very aggressive. My man, Kai, he just said, "Don't put me in." But you think about how Flo coached in his first 2 years. He was extremely aggressive. He coached like an underdog. Even last year, like this year, it has been there is a field goal there to be had, and you punt the ball. Like the 4th and 1, the extremely conservative calls on 4th and 1. Like it just feels like. I don't know, man. It just feels like he knows that he's coaching for his job and he's tensing up a little bit.
You ready for the kicker, Royal? Brian Flores on Tua Tagovailoa. I thought he played well. I thought he made some very good throws, stepped up into the pocket. I thought he played well. Well, if he played well, why don't you put the ball in his fucking hands?
There's no.
And then he said he's gonna watch the tape and the film on the long plane ride home from London. Like, how about instead of just saying I'll do better and I got to do better, how about you make some changes and dictate to these people how you're going to make the changes instead of just saying.
You can't, because there's no change that he can make other than like, I'm going to start like trusting my team, my players to do what they need to do. But the thing is, he's trusting players. He's trusting the wrong players. Tua did almost everything right. Again, a couple of questionable decisions, a couple of questionable throws that make you kind of like raise an eyebrow. But all in all, the overall package, Tua looked pretty darn good, because when the defense gives him something to work with, he finds it most of the time. He finds it. And that is what his MO has always been. He's doing exactly what you expected of him the entire time. Like, I don't understand why people are having this problem. Like, they're looking for a quarterback who's going to completely take over the game and can do no wrong. That quarterback doesn't exist. I want you to know. Okay. I already see Cap in the comment section saying that because Tua threw a pick, he was trash. I'm like, no, listen, man. And Trevor Lawrence only threw one touchdown. So there you go. As for Tua, he threw 2 of them. So again, this kind of boils down to who's doing the play calling, who's doing the decision making, who is making the bad play when it counts. I need to get him some blocking.
You know what's the kicker? You want to know something else? Tua has tears in his eyes right now.
Yeah, I just saw that tweet.
It doesn't matter how I played, we lost. Right now, it's tough in the locker room. We don't even deserve this kid.
We don't. No, honestly, we don't.
We don't deserve this kid.
I think we saw the shades of brilliance that people like drafted him for today. And I think like if he were in an organization, like a better structured organization, then you would be seeing the Tua Tagovailoa that people thought that they would see early on in his career. The Dolphins, like they're just showing that they don't know how to manage the talent around them. And I don't know if that's GMing or coaching, or if it's players. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, because you have to blame someone on the GM, because I think Kai made this point. Like, Chris Greer has missed on nearly every pick that he's made, and he had a wealth of them. And then with the coaching, you have mental mistakes, like at the end of the half. Allowing that touchdown at the end of the half was a killer. Like, we talk about that last play to Laviska Shenault, but that touchdown to Marvin Jones, the one touchdown that Trevor Lawrence threw, was a killer because it was at the end of the half and Miami had the lead.
Can we talk about Noah, though?
Who?
Because Luis tweeted this. He's like, Noah's going to be a top 5 safety or something like that in the next 5 years. I mean, like, he's not a cornerback.
He's not a corner.
No,
he's not. I've reached the point where he's not a corner, but he likes to tackle. He likes to tackle, and that's
he did well tackling early.
So that's why I think he can be a safety.
Real quick. So I was informed that the Dolphins valued Igbenogany because of his run defending skills, and they wanted to play him in the slot.
He can't play.
So why isn't he in the slot?
Because he can't play.
Why isn't he in the slot?
He can't play it. He cannot
Then
play
he
it.
needs to play safety.
He's
You
food
need to
out
turn him
there.
into a safety. Do the same thing you did with Eric Rowe. Make him a safety.
But you have that's all.
Keep the ball in front of him.
If they keep Eric Rowe here, but you have a safety in Javon Holland.
Yes, you do.
You have a safety, and so it's like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, you got to cut your losses, bro. Like, he's not a playable player for this team at this point, and like it's tough because you have to throw him in a situation like this where you're missing X and you're missing Byron, but you saw today, like,
they didn't
he's
really
going to give a plays.
No, Royal, they didn't need to. They didn't need to throw him in there because they had Trill Williams, and he looked pretty good.
I mean, you gonna put Coleman on the outside? Like, come on, bro. Like,
they had Trill Williams, and he looked decent, and they still didn't let him play.
There's a reason why Trill Williams has been on the oh yeah, bro. It's
he cannot be worse than Igbenogany. He can't.
Yeah,
he can't.
I mean, Igbenogany wasn't terrible except for a few plays. Like, he was good.
But those are always the plays that he got burned.
Sure.
Like, if you get burned more than once, like, you have to start questioning the situation. Xavier Howard gets.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. So I was going to say Xavier Howard gets the benefit of the doubt from last week because everybody knows that Howard most of the time plays well. And also we know that he was injured, and that's why he wasn't at full strength. Now, I still think he played bad. You can't take that away. Byron Jones kind of had the same situation. He was injured. He wasn't at full strength. So now he didn't play this week. But you didn't see Nick Needham getting roasted. Even Justin Coleman played better than Noah Igbenogany did.
Yeah, well, Nick Needham is better than Igbenogany.
Yes,
like, but
that's what I'm saying. There's a reason. The same reason you say that Trill Williams hasn't been playing is the same thing that Igbenogany hasn't been playing. I would rather see Trill Williams. After getting burned so many times, it's the same reason I think to myself, I don't want Austin Jackson playing anymore. Bench him because he's not good. There's another guy who can do it.
He has been better than Solomon Kinley at guard. You can't deny that, bro. Like, he's been.
Has he really been?
Yeah.
Has he really?
Yeah, the line looks more cohesive in the past 2 weeks than it has all season.
You know why it's cohesive, Royal? Is because they're finally playing together for more than one game. This is the second time this lineup has been, and they're now gelling together.
Sure, that's granted, but I'm just saying that it all started when Solomon Kinley got benched. So, like that. But yeah, I get what you're saying, bro. I get what you're saying. If both of them are going to suck, might as well go give a look at Trill Williams to see if he can be better. But
you know who I want to see? You know who I want to see? Derval Curaz Neto.
I have no idea what that is.
Well, that's because you're not paying attention, Royal.
I don't know. I'm paying attention just to the people who are playing the game, though.
Our Brazilian super guard who's blocking two different people at once.
Where's Jock? Where's Jock at?
Jock doesn't want to be here because Jock said they'd go 4-4, and that's why I made the bet that I did. And guess what? I won because week 1 in, I already won because they lost.
Lewis, I was plotting on your job as soon as I saw that, bro. Like,
I knew you weren't going to get it. I saw that. You weren't going to get it.
Quick question.
You weren't getting it.
Three of you guys.
What's up, bro?
Did the ball touch the finger?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't enough. And I'm waiting to see the picture that comes out post game of like the zoomed in angle of the finger that clearly touched the ball. I'm still waiting for it, but there wasn't enough to overturn it. And yes, Brian Flores wasted his challenges on calls that he knew were not going to be overturned.
And he hadn't challenged all season long. And now all of a sudden, the ref sounded so annoyed on that second challenge. It's like, dude, you challenging me twice in a row, really? It's like I couldn't help but notice. Did you notice that?
But he made the point though. Like the point was that both of those calls were
very bad calls.
Like to challenge those calls, like you needed the refs to overturn the call on the field, and they were too close to call in that situation. Sorry, Lewis, I'm finna do your job anyway. Thank you, Elaine D, for the $5 dono. He said it's time to think of if it's worth it to bring Flores back next year to fire him mid-season if things go bad again.
Just out of curiosity,
this year, in my opinion, I can't help myself, Lewis. I'm sorry, it's the host.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. I didn't even see the comment because I switched off the comments. I didn't want to see any more of that stuff.
Oh, no problem.
But anyway, so correct me if I'm wrong, but when Joe Philbin got fired, wasn't it after the London game?
Yep.
Against the Raiders?
Yep.
can't help but wonder. You know?
I think this is a
Leave him in London. I'm gonna get out of here, guys,
I
because I don't want to be on the show too long. But you guys,
Let's stay here. You got nothing to lose. Stay here.
I got kids to take care of. Lewis.
Okay, well, that's a different story.
All right, man. Y'all have a great rest of y'all show.
That's a different story. Okay, bye.
So I think Tua just took a shot at his offensive coordinators or whoever you want to call it. He literally just said, we have to finish drives every time we go out there with points. Not field goals, with points, as in touchdowns. Because the red zone play calling has been atrocious. You're telling me you run on first down, then a quick pass to the flat or a screen pass or a short curl route. Come on, be aggressive. Go deep, man. You have your big guys in Matt Collins.
Go deep when it's there, though. That's the thing. Because he went deep to Jalen Waddle in double coverage, and that was not a smart idea. And
I think he thought Devontae Parker subbed in the game mid-game or something because Devontae
that's what I'm talking about with forcing it, though. He forced that play. He didn't need to do that. So that's what I'm talking about. Be aggressive, yes, but only be so aggressive as the defense is willing to give, okay? That's how Tua's going to become a star in this league. It's by taking what the defense gives to the maximum of the potential. You don't just take the 5-yard out. If you see the guy in the middle of the field going down 10, 15 yards, that's the shot you take. If you see the guy one-on-one downfield, that's the shot you take. You don't throw deep into double coverage with your shortest wide receiver. No, that you don't do. So there is a balance that needs to be attained when it specifically comes to Tua's game. As for the play calling, again, no excuse. There's no excuse for the play calling. But with what he's been given, Tua performed today. He performed today. He did. Now, it just wasn't enough when it counted.
I just want to transition a little bit to Myles Gaskin because I was one of those people. I mean, I know fantasy doesn't really matter, but I was one of those people that benched him in fantasy last week and started him this week. And he was utilized so much last week. He put up like 30 fantasy points. And today, he looked like a totally different player. He was dropping passes, and he just did not look. The inconsistency on Myles Gaskin is concerning because one game he'll have a career day, and then the next game he'll have 10 yards, one carry for 10 yards, and 3 drops. So it's just concerning to me how the inconsistency there.
I've just kind of reached the point, guys. There's no hope with this coaching staff. There really isn't. Brian Flores has lost. I'm not going to say he lost the team.
He hasn't lost the team.
The players still love him. For better or worse, the players still love him. But whatever mojo he had in the first 2 weeks, it's gone. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he cut all of his veteran players. He cut all of his leadership. And when I say leadership, there's something to be said about just having played in the league for a long time. There really is. I remember when Cortland Finnegan showed up in Miami. Cortland Finnegan did not play well, okay? He was not a good cornerback. But he did have an impact on some of those younger guys from the mental aspect.
He gave them
leadership
the dog
aspect.
in the fight. He made them be aggressive.
He gave them attitude. He gave them that that they were missing. That idea of I've been around the block a few times and I know what to expect and I can show you how that works. That is something that also Ryan Fitzpatrick had when he was here. I'm not going to sit here and say that if Fitzpatrick were here, the Dolphins would be better. Maybe they would. Maybe they would have a better record because he's more willing to take shots. And maybe because he's a little slightly more durable than Tua is because Tua is known for being brittle. But the thing that is missing most with Fitzpatrick gone is not his game. It's his mental acuity. It's the mental aspect of it. I've been in the league for over 10 years. I know what you're going to run into. I know what you're going to see. And I am going to take my knowledge and I am going to pass it on to you. There's only one player that I can think of right now on this team that has that. And that's Jason McCourty. That's McCourty. Is there anybody else on this team that is even there's maybe like one or two more players. I'd have to look at the whole roster, but I'm hard pressed to remember anybody on this team who is over the age of 30 besides McCourty. I guess Brissett. Let me see. I'm going to pull it up. I'm pulling up the roster now. There's 3 guys, Jason McCourty, John Jenkins, and Jesse Davis, who is right on 30. The next one is Albert Wilson at 29.
So I'm listening to this press conference by Urban Meyer, and he's saying that the Miami timeout gave them a chance to change their plan at the end of the game because originally they were going to run a Hail Mary play. Hail Marys never work out. Never, ever work out. Flores calls a timeout.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I don't see why they needed to call the timeout either. Again, game management. There was none. They had no reason to call that timeout. What were they calling the timeout for? This isn't a field goal where you're trying to ice the kicker. They had already lined up. Just get over it. Move.
And I got to give Urban Meyer credit, even though it was a total breakdown by the defense. Like, it was an amazing call and a very gutsy call and something that Flores should have replicated in trusting his quarterback like Urban Meyer did, like Hassam said earlier in the stream.
All right. So are you guys ready for this? I'm going to go ahead and read this down just because I want to prove a point about the whole thing about experience and why it makes a difference. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Y'all know this. Tom Brady, 22 years in the league. He's 44. Ryan Suckup, the kicker, 13 years in the league. He's 35. Defensive lineman, Steve McClendon, 35. Ndamukong Suh, 34. Richard Sherman, 33. Antonio Brown, 33. Jason Pierre-Paul, 32. Gronk, 32. Blaine Gabbert, 32. Long snapper, Carson Tinker, 31. Cornerback, Pierre Desir, 31. Levante David, 31. Josh Well, the tackle, 30. Kevin Minter, 30. Ryan Jensen, the center, 30. William Golston, a defensive lineman, he's 30. Ross Crockwell, a corner, he's 30. Cameron Brate, tight end, he's 30 years old. Did you notice the huge difference in experience? And I know that Tom Brady makes a huge difference. He really does. But a lot of those guys are all really good players who have been around the block a few times. These are not like, oh, these are spring chickens who are such high potential, such incredible potential for development. These guys already played. They know what they're doing. And it makes a difference because these guys don't make the same mental mistakes on the football field, because I know Antonio Brown. On the football field, that a lot of these young guys are making on a regular basis. And Miami just doesn't have the veteran leadership that is required to wean them off of these mistakes. You're counting
here's
on
another anecdote for you, Lewis, and CK just tweeted this out. He says Brandon Jones effed up on that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
Badly.
absolutely did. Because if Brandon Jones had left him alone and let that clock run, it would have been fine. But he downed him the moment he got there, and that left it with 1 second and an instant timeout. Like as soon as I saw it, as veterans don't do that. As soon as I saw that play happen, I was like, he just blew the game. I knew it the moment that I saw him do that. I was like, why did you do that? You could have let the clock run and then touch him. But nope. He blew it. So that's the reality of it. Again, mental mistakes made by young players who you like them as potentially good players, but all this microwave society, all this, they need to be good right off the bat. They need to be good right the hell now. That is why these Dolphins are struggling.
Where was Eric? Why was Brandon Jones in there instead of Eric Rowe?
Was Eric Rowe not on the game? Was he out?
Like on that play. I don't remember seeing Eric Rowe.
I guess the mentality is that they wanted somebody who was faster.
I think Eric Rowe faster processor. He knows what to expect. He knows what.
But is he a faster runner? Is he stronger?
He's a faster runner.
But Hussam, I know that you're correct, but this is not about what we think. This is about what do the coaches think? What do the coaches prioritize? Do they prioritize athleticism and raw talent, or do they prioritize mental acuity and skill that comes from years and years and years of being in the NFL? Eric Rowe is a veteran.
Athleticism. I think they were trying to have Brandon Jones blitz it, but he saw what the play happened and had to react.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They brought all these players in that are fast, they're strong, they're big, they're monsters, athletic freaks of nature, but they don't have the mental skills to use it. Those kinds of players need 5 years or so to cook before they can really become really good players. And that is where the Dolphins have failed. They pick all these high potential players that in order to reach their full potential, they need coaching, not just from coaches, but from people who are standing in front of them as predecessors to their talent. Brett Favre had to sit for Brett Favre was in front of Aaron Rodgers for how long before he came into the league? Same goes for Drew Bledsoe. How long was he there before Tom Brady came into the league and became Tom Brady?
Took Mahomes 1 year to sit, basically, and he started the
But he still sat. But he still sat.
Exactly.
And you know what? Even Tyreek Hill admitted that. I thought Mahomes was garbage. But you know
Russell
what?
Wilson was behind Matt Flynn. Tannehill was behind
David Garrard.
Until he had an injury.
Mm-hmm. So if you're going to go with this mindset of having high potential players, of having these guys that are raw talents, that are athletic freaks but need to be coached up, you need to be willing to give them that time. And not only do you need to give them that time, you need to give them that time while still having good players in front of them who can contribute now while these players are learning. You can't throw them out here to the wolves and say that this is going to be it. So that's what the Dolphins are struggling with right now. They were counting on Noah Igbenogany to be such an athletic freak that his athleticism and his development would accelerate, I guess. So now they're up the creek without a paddle because both Howard and Jones are gone and they don't have a decent substitute to choose from. So they're forced to go with Igbenogany. And this whole time he's been inactive. Why? Because they know he's not ready for it. Austin Jackson, it's the same mindset. The idea was that he was an athletic freak, that he was going to become a great left tackle. Obviously, that's not the case. So
you want to hear this from Mike Gesicki? Tua did a good job of leading us. He made some good plays. I was proud of him.
And you know what? If Mike Gesicki, I hope Mike Gesicki is so proud of him that he wants to stick around after the season. But even then, I'm not even convinced the Dolphins front office, whoever it is, because I'm not sure Greer's going to survive, whoever it is going to offer him a contract extension.
No,
I really don't.
This game solidified the fact that Greer is most likely not going to stick around. And at this point, when you lose to a winless team like that two times in a row, 2 times this season, you got the Colts that you lost to that were winless, and now you lose to a team that hasn't won in how many games? So right now you're left with the rest of the season, right? With young guys, like you were saying, Luis, and no veteran leadership. And you have a lot of cap space, all right? And the trade deadline's coming up. So short-term moves I'm just saying, Greer.
Salary cap over veteran leadership. Salary cap is a myth. The Saints proved it.
I can't, the who dat coins. So once again, we run into this situation. So let's see. You fire Brian Flores. Let's just do this for hypothetical. They fire Brian Flores. They trade Devontae Parker for a 4th round pick or whatever they can get for him now. You trade Mike Gesicki because he's not sticking around.
Also, why were they in shotgun? It just came up. Why were they in?
Because they're always in shotgun. That's what Tua does. He's in shotgun.
You could be in single back formation, heavy set. You have Christian Wilkins as the freaking fullback. That
hasn't worked either. If we're being honest, that hasn't worked either. If you're still gonna be questioning that one play, then you're gonna we've dissected that play left and right. Now here's the problem: everybody wants a full reset, right? Like a full reset. It's not gonna.
A full reset.
It will never happen. No, it will never happen because Steve Ross does not trust himself to start from scratch. He does not trust himself to sit like Will Smith and the French Prince of Bel-Air and sitting all by himself in that empty room to try to figure out where to go from there. He doesn't. He needs somebody there to say, don't worry, Steve, I got this. I'll take care of it for you. And I think it's going to be Marvin Allen when all is said and done, for better or worse. So I don't know if you think that's a good thing or bad.
He's got hella experience.
Chris Greer has hella experience too. That hasn't worked out.
Well, Chris Greer has been there for scouting, but Marvin Allen and Reggie McKenzie, I would put those 2 guys as my list as GMs because they've done well. So I would put Reggie McKenzie. I would put Reggie McKenzie.
So why did they get fired?
Wait, Reggie McKenzie got fired?
McKenzie was out of a job.
Oh, really?
It's not like they said, "Oh, well, hey, you guy who's working for the Raiders, we'll take you now." Like that's not what happened. It's like he was.
Well, if we want to talk about the Raiders, we want to talk about their philosophy. It goes back to what happened with John Gruden stuff and Al Davis. But
don't talk about it. Don't talk about John Gruden. We don't need to open that up.
That's something for another day.
So now here's the next question. So let's say you go with Reggie McKenzie or with Marvin Allen as your GM. Who's your coach? Are you going to go, again, the route of youngest NFL head coach in history? Are you going to go get this guy, Joe Brady from the Carolina Panthers? Do you trust that this guy who has no experience as a head coach is going to suddenly become a great head coach again? That's the same thing with Adam Gase.
Steve Sarkisian. You get Steve Sarkisian.
But would he take the job? Would he take the job?
Most probably. Or you get Brian Daboll. Would
he take the job?
Does anybody want?
Side note: Jerome Baker. We all trust Flo. In quotes.
Of course. What are they going to say? Are they going to say the coaches failed us? They're never going to say that.
Right. But do I think Jerome Baker thinks that he trusts Flo and that the team trusts Flo?
Again, the question is not whether Flores has lost the locker room. Obviously, he hasn't. The players loved Brian Flores, for better or worse. I don't think they loved Joe Philbin. I don't think they loved Adam Gase. I think that they love Brian Flores for sure, because in a way, I mean, they kind of have to like Greer. Greer's the one who brought them in the first place. So, and at the end of the day, everybody's looking out for their own self-interests. You know,
Gaskin just said it wasn't really any rust for being out 3 games or so about Tua.
I didn't see any rust. He looked pretty darn good. But again, this was the Jaguars, so let's see what he looks like against the Atlanta Falcons. So there's that. So I don't know, guys. I just feel like that this team doesn't have much left to go with. This feels like the season.
Watching the rest of the season.
The season's over. No, the season's over. Okay, get this through your head right now. The season is over.
Jags. What team are you? You have the easiest schedule left in the NFL, and you can't beat the Jags. Who else are you going to beat?
No one.
They're
gonna it's really hard to see anything other than
they have the Jets.
MK Matt, thank you for the $5 donation.
How are we going to beat the Jets? Won a game. We won a game because Xavier Howard had a fumble in the opponent's red zone.
We can win.
MK Matt wants us to stop making excuses for Tua Tagovailoa, so he's blaming Tua for the loss. Okay, no, thank you for the $5 donation. No, you're wrong. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it flat out. You are wrong, because if you watch the game and you see what happened, I don't know how you can pin this on Tua. I really don't. I don't know how you can pin this whole game on Tua. Like Trevor Lawrence was perfect all game long. Please give me a break. Like I don't understand the mentality of this whole thing. Like you're basically saying that if Tua was good, then Miami would have a perfect run completely the entire game, that they would never make a mistake, that everything on offense is perfect.
What needs to happen, Lewis?
What needs to happen? Jacoby Brissett needs to come back?
No. Setting no expectations for this team. Playing with you have nothing to lose for, because that's what they do well in. That's how they've won since 2019 and 2020, playing with no expectations.
Do you think that's made the difference in Flores' approach? Is that before
I think
the last
that
2 seasons
made him aggressive?
The last 2 seasons he was playing with house money.
The expectation is that they're supposed to be in the playoffs this year. There's pressure on this coaching staff. There's pressure on Tua. There's pressure for everybody to perform. There wasn't that pressure in 2019. There wasn't that pressure in 2020 either. Just let it rip, man. Just do whatever you got to. Just let it rip. Don't be conservative. Be aggressive. Go back to your nature.
I don't think Brian Flores was conservative this game. I think this was the most unconservative he's been all season with the play call.
Because he knows he has to win.
With the challenges, with the going for it on 4th down.
No,
I would say not only for the challenges, but the defensive way. How we have not seen the amoeba defense at all. Whatever happened to that? You were so good at that. Whatever happened to that?
I was thinking about that today too. Trevor Lawrence is a rookie quarterback, and you don't throw stuff at him that like you did Herbert last year. I mean, it's unacceptable.
I think that worked because you had veteran guys on there. You had veteran players that you decided are not worth it anymore. Kyle Van Noy was cut. And now all of a sudden you lose a lot because, again, doing that kind of stuff, that amoeba stuff, that requires mental brain power. And I'm not talking that, and for anybody accuses me of saying that, I'm saying the players are stupid. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that they have a low football IQ. There is something to be said about NFL experience. There is something to be said about having been in the league for years and years and years, and you know what to expect because you've experienced it. You've played it. You've been in there for a long time. That's why the Buccaneers, with all these old farts, you want to call them that, running around the field all the time, they still look like a bunch of studs because not only are they talented, just because you're old doesn't mean you're washed up. This just means that you know you've been around the block a few times. You know what to expect. You know what mistakes you not make because you have already gotten used to it. Bill Belichick has run that same defense with almost the same players, and you notice that every time one of his old players shakes loose, he just goes and brings them back in. Oh, welcome back, Kyle. Welcome back, Jamie. Welcome back, XYZ. They all keep coming back to New England, and they all just fall right back into place where they first started. It's not a coincidence. They know what they're doing. They know how it works, and that makes all the difference. Now it's a $10 donation. Thank you, MK Matt, again. So you're saying that Tua should find a way to win. So I guess the thing that you're trying to say is that Tua is the only quarterback in this entire roster, in this entire league, that wouldn't have managed to get the job done. So you're saying that Mac Jones outside of New England would still look like the Mac Jones that he is right now, which, by the way, on paper is if you watch the film, it's not like Mac Jones does anything particularly impressive, okay? He doesn't. He dinks and he dunks. He does exactly what is expected of him in New England. That's what they do. And by the way, they haven't exactly had the best record themselves either. So there's also that to consider. So it's not an excuse to say that Tua played well and they still lost in spite of it. It's not like if your quarterback plays well, you're guaranteed to win. You're not. Because some quarterbacks will have a crappy game and they still manage to come out on top because the other team just made more mistakes. And this time the mistakes were made by not only by some of the players, because I'm looking at the running backs and they're dropping balls left and right. I'm looking at the coaching staff and not putting the players in the best position to win. I'm looking at, and yes, I will look at Tua at a few of those plays and say that was not the best decision that he could have made. He could have done something else, but instead he tried to force it. And that was where most of his mistakes were, when he tried to force something that was not there.
I mean, he has one of those interceptions per game where it's like, what are you doing? He's had it versus versus the Jags. He had it earlier this season. He has one of those a game. Okay, but you also got to compliment the throws that he was making early in this game. They were great throws, and they were high-velocity throws, and he looked way better coming off that rib injury than he did earlier in the season.
No, he looked really good coming off the rib injury. By the way, I'm not convinced for 1 second that he's not still feeling those ribs, okay? It's not like, oh, my ribs are fully healed, I'm ready to go. Forget that, okay? There's no way he's not still feeling the pain. There's no way.
You know, it's, in the words of Yogi Berra, it's deja vu all over again. Tony Sperano and Adam Gase. Philbin got what, 4 years? 5 years?
No, Gase got, let's see. He got fired in 2019. He came in 2016. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he got 3 years. Got 2016 to 2018. And Flores came in 2019. Philbin got 3.5, it feels like. You know who I would bring in as head coach? I'm not even joking. Who's I forget his name because it's blanking on me now, but who was the head coach? Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Doug Peterson?
No, not Doug Peterson. What's the guy's name? Hold on.
Name the team.
I'm blanking.
Name the team, Lewis.
Marvin Lewis. That's what you want, a proven head coach, right? Somebody who's been a head coach for a long time. He has experience. And by the way, Marvin Allen's knock was not that he couldn't get games to win. He just couldn't get over the edge to the playoffs. Well, right now, at that point, that would be an improvement, a big one for the Dolphins.
On a hierarchy of firing, though, I'd target the GM first, and then the offensive coordinators, and then Flores. That'd be my list, because I think that Greer has done the worst job, and then the offensive coordinators have done the second worst job in the play calling. I
would honestly bring in Marvin Lewis. That's who I would pick as my head coach, because Marvin Lewis has been a head coach for many years. He was successful for many years. Now, if your basis of success is playoffs, well, I can point at Andy Dalton and say, there it is. Andy Dalton is your quarterback. No wonder you didn't get very far.
Now, what if you bring in Todd Bowles as your head coach and Doug Peterson as your offensive coordinator?
How did Todd Bowles do as a head coach?
Well, he was with the Jets, so I mean,
Okay, well,
Jets are the team.
you can't have that mentality, Hussam, because you know why? Because if you do that, then you're basically saying the same thing for Miami. It doesn't matter who the coach is. You're going to suck anyway because you're the Dolphins. So if that's the case, then we might as well stop having the show altogether because there's never going to be any hope.
Well, Todd Bowles has been leading he was pretty great as a defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. He was pretty great as a defensive coordinator for the Bucs right now, too, even though the Bucs have young rookies, young players on the defensive
The
side.
Buccaneers.
But they have veteran players and veteran leadership and an experienced coach that knows how to manage the game well. That is what I'm talking about. We don't need Todd Bowles to call the defensive plays. We don't need him to call the offensive plays. You hire great offensive and defensive assistants.
Marvin
That's
Lewis.
what you need, and that's what's lacking in Miami.
My official call for new head coach is Marvin Lewis. For real, Marvin Lewis. Because he's a good coach. He's a good coach. No, Cap wants Jim Harbaugh. No, there's a reason Jim Harbaugh is in college. There really is. That's where Harbaugh steps on too many toes, man. Like he'll be good for like 3 years and then he'll piss somebody off and then he's going to end up getting bucked again. All right. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and end it right here. Thank you so much for joining us. And once again, big thank you to Thrive Fantasy for sponsoring today's episode. You can go ahead and check that out on thrivefantasy.com. Just choose 10 of the available 20 players, pick the over or under on how well they're going to do per game, and you'll be able to get some big wins. That's thrivefantasy.com. All right. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you all next time.